The Supreme Court of the United States of America has lost all credibility. In this breaking story, I hope you, along with me, understand how difficult it is for me to say that out loud after what I have witnessed and lived through as an American citizen. More specifically, in this breaking story, Justice Alito, to the point of being anything but ethical, where unethical doesn't even apply at the level of what I'm going to show you in this breaking story as to what they both just did together, communicating in certain ways in private to the judicial branch, most notably SCOTUS, the highest court in the land. But that is exactly what I'm going to be sharing with you in this breaking story in just a few seconds. But let's understand where Alito has suddenly gone just in the last couple of years because of Donald Trump and in so many ways with Donald Trump. Listen to this.
Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. Congressman Raskin, thank you very much for coming to the Saturday show. Your reaction to this story and Justice Alito's response?
Well, Justice Alito's response makes it clear he understands that it was a political symbol to turn the American flag upside down. It's a universal symbol of political distress, and in this case, of specific opposition to the inauguration of Joe Biden. It's what the MAGA right was calling for at that point. If it were not a very clear political symbol whose meaning is well understood, Justice Alito would not have gone to great pains to blame everything on his wife. In any event, the U.S. Supreme Court is the only court in the federal judiciary, indeed the only court in the land, that does not have a binding ethics code.
Several consequential decisions are still pending with the Supreme Court. There are ethical concerns and criticism toward one justice in particular, Samuel Alito.
But now calls are growing for him to recuse himself for former President Trump's immunity case. If there's any semblance left of impartiality of our justice system, and one of the Supremes is flying a symbol of an insurrection in front of his house and then blamed it on his wife over a petty dispute with a neighbor.
The inappropriateness here is beyond outrageous. It's really beyond my capacity to articulate. I ran Samuel Alito's confirmation process as a deputy assistant to the president, counselor to the vice president, from the Bush White House. I know what he said in those rooms about his commitment to precedent, to Roe versus Wade, for example. We should never know what that person's politics are. They should be above partisanship.
And so in this breaking story, the fact that Donald Trump, number one, thinks it's okay to directly call a Supreme Court justice, and number two, that a Supreme Court justice thinks that it's okay to take a direct phone call from a president when you've been involved in an immunity case and you have a case on the horizon in New York, the fact that those two things exist tell you how far from the America I thought, and we probably thought, we lived in. Here is the story. Breaking news. Supreme Court Justice Alito spoke with Trump shortly before Supreme Court filing. The justice said that the call was a job reference for one of his former clerks and that the request to stay the president-elect's sentencing did not come up. Justice Samuel A. Alito Jr. spoke with President-elect Donald J. Trump on Tuesday, not long before Mr. Trump's lawyers asked the Supreme Court to delay his sentencing following his conviction in New York in a case arising from hush money payments. Justice Alito said the call was a routine job reference for a former law clerk whom Mr. Trump was considering for a government position. It was not clear, however, why Mr. Trump would make a call to check references, a task generally left to lower-level aides. Gabe Roth, the executive director of Fix the Court, an advocacy group that seeks more openness at the Supreme Court, said the call was deeply problematic given the ethics controversies swirling around the court in general and Justice Alito in particular. In quotes, the call was merely an excuse for Trump to speak with one of the 9 people determining the fate of his hush money sentencing in the coming days and who will review many more Trump-related issues over the next 4 years, Mr. Roth said. In quotes, typically, he added, Trump and Alito are better at hiding their ethics issues, at least for a few months or sometimes longer. But with the Supreme Court greenlighting near absolute presidential immunity last year, and with Congress refusing to pass enforceable ethics for the justices, it appears there's no reason to even try. In a statement on Wednesday, Justice Alito said the call was an unexceptional endorsement of a talented clerk, in quotes. William Levi, one of my former law clerks, asked me to take a call from President-elect regarding his qualifications to serve in a government position, Justice Alito said. I agreed to discuss this matter with President-elect Trump, and he called me yesterday afternoon. Justice Alito said he had not talked about the hush money case or any other legal proceeding with Mr. Trump. In quotes, we did not discuss the emergency application he filed today, and indeed, I was not even aware at the time of our conversation that such an application would be filed, the justice said. We also did not discuss any other matter that is pending or might in the future come before the Supreme Court or any past Supreme Court decisions involving the president-elect. The call, reported earlier by ABC News, added to the questions surrounding ethics practices at the court, including ones about gifts and luxury travel accepted and only partly disclosed by Justices Alito and Clarence Thomas. In 2023, ProPublica reported that Justice Alito had failed to disclose a private jet flight paid for by a conservative billionaire who later had cases before the court. In an opinion column in the Wall Street Journal, the justice wrote that he was not obligated to disclose the trip. In 2024, the New York Times reported on an upside-down American flag flown outside the justice's residence in the weeks after the January 26, 2021 attack on the Capitol, and on an Appeal to Heaven flag carried by January 6 rioters and a symbol for a more Christian-minded government on display at the justice's beach house in the summer of 2023. In Mr. Trump's emergency application, his lawyers urged the justices to halt his sentencing, which is scheduled for Friday, 10 days before the presidential inauguration. The filing came after a New York appeals court rejected the same request on Tuesday and sharply questioned the validity of his effort to stave off the sentencing. Trump's lawyers requested, in quotes, this court should enter an immediate stay of further proceedings in the New York trial court, the application said, to prevent grave injustice and harm to the institution of the presidency and the operations of the federal government. The Supreme Court asked prosecutors to respond to the application by Thursday morning and may act on the request later that day. Appalled, shocked, stunned, flabbergasted, don't know what other words to come up with other than this is truly the behavior of what in my entire lifetime we have referred to other countries as judicially or leadership-wise a banana republic. That, aside from the fact that Donald Trump does resemble an orangutan, set that part aside, but he has made America a banana republic. It is unbelievable. I cannot hardly fathom it. And in my lifetime, I have never had to think. I've never had to ponder. What is the President of the United States executive branch doing? I don't know if his mind is going, but because of Donald Trump and because of his absolute demand for loyalty, he has pushed even the Supreme Court. And Justice Alito, shame on every ounce of you sitting on that bench. You are now officially a part of the banana republic. It is disgusting. You guys do your best to stay calm, stay positive, and with stories like this and the reality of these two, stay frosty.